Okay, I'll call the meeting to order. It is Monday, July the 20th, and I apologize for the late start. We had some technical difficulties, so we are calling this meeting to order at 7:11 p.m. Is there any declaration of pecuniary interest or general nature thereof? Seeing none, I think I'll turn the meeting over just briefly to our CAO, Morgan Calvert.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Clark. And I just wanted to acknowledge that, of course, we were dealing with some technical difficulties this evening. There were a number of people who came from their homes last minute to try to get us online this evening. So I just wanted to take a quick moment to say thanks to a few folks. First and foremost, our clerk, Mike Barnier, for ensuring we had a really good backup plan this evening. That's why you saw the cables and the jury rig that was going around and making sure that he was parked underneath that TV to keep us online. Coulter, our public works manager, for getting NFTC on site. NFTC, for those that don't know, is our internet service provider here. Julian was on site. He was literally just about to pull into his house somewhere near Woodstock when he received the call and rushed here to get us online this evening. Chris Bailey, Ryan Thomas, and of course Kevin, who is our on-site tech today. The three of them were the first two were managing the IT issue in the background, and Kevin was on the boots gentleman that got us up and running. Of course, Johnny, for making sure our health and safety wires and all those things were covered up. And finally, council and the public, appreciate your patience as we got ourselves working this evening. So that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you. I'd like to welcome everybody in the gallery as well. Usually, if we've done something wrong, we have a full gallery. So I'm not sure how tonight's going to go, but anyway, we'll see. All right, you've got the agenda in front of you, Council. Are there any additions to the agenda? Seeing none, then we have a recommendation that the agenda for July 20th, 2026 meeting of council be approved. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Kingma, seconded by Councillor Campbell. All in favor? And that's carried. You've had a chance to read the minutes of the previous meeting held on June 15th. Are there any errors or omissions? Seeing none, then we have a recommendation that the minutes of the Adelaide Metcalfe meeting of council held on June 15th, 2026 be adopted as printed. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Brody, seconded by Councillor McKinnon. All in favor? And that's carried. Okay, next up is our delegations and time events. The first is the Committee of Adjustment. We have a recommendation that council convene as the Committee of Adjustment at 7:14 p.m. Mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor McKinnon, seconded by Councillor Kingma. All in favor? And that's carried. The purpose of the upcoming Committee of Adjustment and public meeting is to provide council, the Committee of Adjustment, and the general public opportunity to hear from all interested parties regarding the applications being discussed this evening. The public is advised that comments expressed and written material presented are a matter of public record available for full disclosure. In respect to the Committee of Adjustment applications, only the applicant or a public body can appeal a Committee of Adjustment decision to the Ontario Land Tribunal. This must be filed within 20 days from the date of decision. In respect to the public meeting applications, if a person or public body does not speak to the application at the public meeting or make written submissions to the township, the person or public body is not entitled to appeal the council decision to the Ontario Land Tribunal or be added as a party to an appeal of the decision to the tribunal. If you wish to be notified of the decision in writing, please submit a written request to the clerk. So next up, we will turn the meeting over to our planner, Ashley Sawyer, and the first item up is the application for consent B02-2026, owners Carolyn and Adrian Corneliuson, and Arlene and Owen and Vienendals. Thank you. Yeah. And I'll once again turn this over to Ashley.
Thank you. So I will start off with a disclaimer that for efficiencies, I do consolidate reports where appropriate. So in an instance where there's a consent and a zoning bylaw amendment, I provide you one long report instead of two semi-long reports. However, as we are in committee concurrently, I will speak to the consent application now, and then I'll touch on the zoning once we get to that portion. So the subject lands for this consent application have a municipal address of 2988 Mullaferry Drive and include the surrounding farmlands under separate ownership. The lands are located in a prime agricultural area, and they're designated as agricultural in the county and township's official plans. So the purpose and effect of the consent application is to facilitate a lot addition to merge approximately 0.5 acres of land from the abutting farm parcel with 2988 Mullaferry Drive. So there's enough space to construct a 669 square meter drive shed to be used for an agricultural seed business. The use is classified as an agricultural commercial use in the applicable policy documents. The applicant has indicated that their business is required to be located in an agricultural area as it directly services local farmers. There is no proposed storage of fertilizer or other related products, and it would strictly just be the storage of seed. 2988 Mullaferry is currently approximately 1.8 acres in size, and with the additional 0.5 acres, it would bring it up to approximately 2.3 acres. And this consent will not result in the creation of a new lot. The consent application and the zoning bylaw amendment application were circulated on a consolidated notice in accordance with the requirements of the Planning Act. The building department noted no objection, as did Public Works, provided there's no changes to the existing driveways. And no comments were received by members of the public prior to my report submission, but we're here this evening to receive verbal feedback prior to the committee making a decision. So the policy context in my analysis is detailed in my report, so I will keep it short and sweet. Just by saying that lot adjustments are permitted in prime agricultural areas for legal or technical reasons, such as a minor boundary adjustment. While the use is proposed on an existing surplus dwelling parcel, the proposed lot addition is limited to the minimum amount of land necessary to accommodate the proposed building for the ag-related commercial use. The proposal allows an existing local agricultural business to operate in close proximity to the farming community it serves, without adversely affecting the continued agricultural use of the retained farmland, the surrounding agricultural area, or of the existing dwelling on the property. From a land use planning perspective, staff are satisfied that enlarging an existing parcel for this purpose achieves the policy objective of minimizing fragmentation of farmland, as it does not create a separate parcel in this area. So as such, staff are recommending that the consent be approved with the conditions in my report, which I would just note are very standard for a severance of this nature. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashley. Owen, I think do you want to speak to the application? You don't have to, but you're welcome to. No, okay. Jonathan, did you want to speak to it? Then come to the microphone, please, and state your name, please.
John Barnett here for Owen Bean and Dahl and Adrian and Caroline Cornelison. I just want to point out this is not like a typical sort of thing that you would see. Like this is the first one I've done like this, but it does. And Ashley's been great to work with on all this. To put an agriculture commercial related use on a surplus farm dwelling property, I think that it makes good sense. Like you shouldn't have to own an entire farm in order to do an ag commercial use. And I think that after we go through all the policies and the official plans, like it worked out, and it just took a little bit longer than we wanted to figure it all out, because there were a lot of hurdles in the way. And but we got over all of them, and I think that this would be great for Owen and his family, and I appreciate the council supporting it. Thanks.
Thank you. All right, council, do you have any questions? And is there anyone from the public that would like to speak to the application? Okay, seeing no other people wish to speak to this, I'm not going to read out the 11 conditions, but there is a recommendation that the application for consent B to 2026 submitted under Section 53 of the Planning Act be granted by the Township of Adelaide Metcalfe Committee of Adjustment, subject to the 11 conditions that were mentioned. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Brody, seconded by Councillor McKinnon. All in favor? And that's carried. John, I like to think we're a solution-oriented council. All right, the next application up is an application for consent B03-2026. The owner applicant is McRobert Farms, and the agent is Paul Hendricks from Hendricks Law. and it's regarding 25319 Wood Road. So I'll turn this portion back over to Ashley for presentation.
Thank you. So same as the last one, I did consolidate this report because there's an associated zoning with it as well. But again, as we're in committee right now, I'll speak to that portion first. So the subject lands have a municipal address of 25319 Wood Road, not to be confused with the next application you'll hear for 25391 Wood Road, which is also under the same ownership. So this consent application is for a surplus farm dwelling severance. The severed parcel would be approximately 1.21 acres in size and would contain the existing single detached dwelling and storage shed. The retained parcel would be approximately 50 acres in size and contain the existing agricultural lands and crop production. The consent application and zoning bylaw amendment application were circulated on a consolidated notice in accordance with the requirements of the Planning Act. Standard comments were received from the Building Department and Emergency Services, and the St. Clair Region Conservation Authority did note no concerns. No comments were received by members of the public prior to my report submission. However, verbal feedback may still be received before a decision is made tonight. So the policy context and my analysis are detailed in my report. So again, I will just keep this very high level, but staff are satisfied that the criteria to qualify for a surplus farm dwelling severance have been met and that the severed lot is an appropriate size, being approximately 1.2 acres in size. Standard conditions have been included largely to work out technical details such as servicing location confirmation, zoning implementation, and so on. And that said, for the reasons outlined in my report, I am recommending the consent be approved with conditions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashley. Paul, would you like to come to the microphone and identify yourself? You can speak to the application.
Thank you, Your Worship. For the record, my name is Paul Hendricks, Hendrikx, here as agent for the applicant, which is McRobert Farms, Inc. And I just want to clarify that it's not the same party that owns the two properties, this and the one we're going to hear about. Once this application is done, this one is owned by a farm corporation, the other is owned by an individual. Now, there are just a few items that I wanted to address. Generally speaking, I'm in agreement with the majority of what my friend Ashley, the planner, has provided. But there were a few conditions that I wanted to speak to. If I could, the first would be condition number 5. That is a condition wherein they're seeking to have us provide written confirmation to the satisfaction of the township, consideration given to consolidating remnant agricultural lands. And it's my submission that we would like that condition removed. We do not want that to be a condition of the severance. I believe it's in reference to, as I noted, the two properties we're going to hear about actually do share a boundary. And there's a third property that is somewhat landlocked, but again, owned by one of the owners of that is my client. The other is a separate individual. So they're not owned by the same parties. And my client's content to leave that as it is. We have no issue with the way it's structured now. But the concern of including this is that we really don't know what would satisfy the township. And just a few things to submit. So right now that landlocked parcel is taxed as a landlocked parcel. So the owners of that property pay less in property taxes. And if they, leaving aside the fact that there's another separate owner of it, if they were to be consolidated, it would be taxed at a rate that's not for landlocked property. So my client would be incurring additional tax costs. The other thing that we're concerned about, again, leaving aside the ownership structure, if they were to be consolidated, we're concerned about what that would mean for the ability to construct a dwelling on that third property. Because of course, there's going to be restriction for the other two properties with respect to the remnant farm parcels. For those, you won't be able to construct a house on.
Sorry, Paul, just
Oh,
for
yeah.
clarity, which is the third parcel, the landlocked or the other one?
So I can, if council will, I'll just let her,
Sorry, I'm just gonna pull up the actual map because that one cuts off where that landlocked parcel is, but if maybe I could add some context or clarity around that condition. So generally, when you're creating undersized farm parcels, if there's abutting ones that could potentially merge together, that would be preferable. Not so much a concern with the 50-acre one, but certainly with the 30 acres. Ultimately, that condition was included and worded in that way because I was waiting for confirmation on if that had been a discussion, because perhaps a lot adjustment would have been more appropriate. However, should the committee wish to remove that condition, I'm satisfied with that now that we have that clarification this evening. But I will pull up the map here for you as well. So it's this third piece back in here that's fully landlocked, in my opinion.
Sorry, so you're not wanting that portion to merge with the property that's with under discussion right now, the 25319? No, wrong one. You got the wrong map. Okay. It's hard to see. That's what it's saying. Well, just a quick question on that.
Second heat. Yes. But there's no access of any kind to that property.
that's correct.
So what happens if now that he severs that house off, he sells out of the property, that is totally blocked for.
That I would submit that that's true, whether
It would be
there are
true,
severances or not. Right?
Because there's no access to it whatsoever.
Yes, I agree. And that's an issue completely uncoupled from the severances. It doesn't change anything. You could sell the farms, the two farms that access the road. And again, it's not the same party, but those could be sold at any point.
How do you get to it?
Is there a registered right away or no? No.
Not one that reaches, I was looking a little bit at the history of how this landlocked parcel came to be. There's actually several in the area. And they used to be linked together and there was a convoluted way to get through. But my simple answer to that would be that is for the owners of that property to worry about. It's that they bought it knowing that it was landlocked. And when it would need to be sold, they would have to deal with it at that time.
That's creating a headache for us later, I would say.
I would just admit the headaches already exist.
Okay, we're kind of out of flow here, but we're supposed to be asking questions at the end, but with it's too complicated to defer. I hope you appreciate that. Yeah, so go on to your next request.
The next item is condition 12. And I don't want to spend a lot of time on this. I would just simply submit that I don't feel that this condition is necessary. Was it not turned on? There we go. The building department had commented that they had no concern about the construction of the property of the shed on the property. And it's my submission that the use of it will be the same. It will be used to store things. It was never a barn. There would be no need to do the change of use, but I'm in your hands. I don't want to spend a lot of time dwelling on that.
Go ahead, Ashley.
I can just provide clarification. So ultimately, that condition is included just to ensure that you're accurately capturing the correct amount of taxes on that structure, because as you know, agricultural things are taxed very differently than residential accessories. So that's ultimately just, it's again, up to the township to include or not. I would say it's a standard condition we include elsewhere in the county as well, but it's just to make sure you're capturing the correct assessment.
Next request, Paul.
Thank you. The third and final condition I wanted to speak about would be condition 15. And this is seeking to impose the condition that the owner provide a confirmation from a qualified well installer that any wells in existence but no longer utilized on the property have been decommissioned. The planner's report itself notes that there are 2 wells in the well records on the property. And I spoke to my client, and what that reflects is that there was a well that actually comes into the house, which still functions, but for servicing purposes, a second well was drilled outside of the house because it's much easier to access and work on that type of well. And so both wells still function. There's the ability to toggle between them. And so it's simply my submission that that is unnecessary. Those are the only 2 wells located on the property. And it would unduly require my client to spend money that doesn't need to be spent just to get a piece of paper that says that fact.
Okay, is that the end of your wish list, or do you have anything else there?
No, those are the 3. Thank you.
I know we just hit you with questions, but council, do you have additional questions? Councilor McKinnon, go ahead.
Through you to Mr. Hendricks. So the 2 wells are being used right now. You said they were toggled together. So if one is shut down, he's using the other, is he?
I don't know the extent of the use of each one. I do know that both are in use. And that when I refer to the toggling, what I mean is that the house can utilize either well. And so you can switch between them. And I will just let council know that my client is present as well. If further clarification on that was needed, I can seek that information.
What's your pleasure? Further clarification, or you're good with that? Okay. All right, any other questions from council? Go ahead,
I just
Ashley.
wanted to add, so originally when I included that condition, it was because 2 wells do show on Ontario well records, yes. The second well shows that it's outside of the boundary of what the severed lot's going to be. So that was my primary concern.
I may.
Go ahead, Paul.
Thank you. I would caution council to rely on where they put the dots on those well map, the well map. Because on the neighboring property, it puts the well right up at the front of the house. But when you open that one up, it shows you where the well is located. And sorry, I'm referring to a piece of paper I have, but and I'm happy to share that with council. But I would say that the dots that show up on that map, where you go to the well records of Ontario, are not accurate as to where the wells are located.
Is it noted in the survey?
It's simply a sketch that was submitted, and we did note the location of the outer well. I was not aware there was a well inside until after I received the planner's report.
So is it noted in the survey?
There is no survey of the
There's no
property.
survey. Okay, council, there's something to chew on. What do you think? You've got a recommendation before you. The agent and landowner have asked that condition 5 be removed. Condition 15 be removed around the well piece, and that condition 12 also. So 12 relates to the impact assessment piece. What's that? Councilor Brody, go ahead.
If I may, I just want to clarify that if you could explain what the concern is about the house not being there, because the farmland is still going to be, right now it's a separate parcel. Yeah,
Best is to tie those two pieces together. I have a problem with futures there. Cause that property, you can't get to, there's no access. So in 10 years, say if the owner wants to sell that property, we're gonna have the next person come in here and basically need access to it. How will that be? Like, we won't be able to get it. I have a problem on the thought. I do.
Counselor King, go ahead.
Thank you through the mayor. I would just suggest that we comply with Paul's assertions. I don't mind the ambiguity at all of having a detached or landlocked parcel. I agree that it could be the subject of some consternation in the future, but this kind of ambiguity is a result of the angling that goes on in this particular part of the township. So there's going to be issues. And I'm content that number 5, number 12, and number 15 can be removed from the list.
So Brody, go ahead.
I agree with what you're saying. But I feel we are creating a problem for the next go round. Is my concern.
if I may respond to that, or I guess that may not.
Yeah, I think you've responded already, so
Fair enough.
we're just beating a dead horse here. Okay. So any further questions from council? Okay, is there anyone in the gallery that would like to speak to the application? Okay, then you have a recommendation before you. So I need someone to make a motion with what you want in and what you want out. Council Brody, go ahead.
I make a motion, we grant the application the way that it stands. Minus. I do have a question about the shed portion.
Yeah.
So basically with the shed, because that's gonna become a residential lot. And that shed's gonna stay with the house, you're just basically wanting to make sure it gets taxed properly, because that will become a residential lot. So I guess in a way I've struggled too with getting good up revenue that place is supposed to be taxed properly, and it's when it gets settled. So I would like to see this stay the way it's been suggested with everything myself.
So are you making that a motion that you accept the planner's report as presented, including all 18 recommendations, if you will, or points of to meet conditions? Okay, is there a seconder for that? Seconded by Councillor McKinnon, all in favor? And 1, 2, 3, that carries. Okay. Okay, so next application up is B04-2026, and this one is on behalf of owner applicant Alan McRoberts, and Paul once again is the agent, and this is 25391 as opposed to 19, so a different location on Wood Road. So Ashley, I'll turn it over to you now.
Thank you, Mayor Clark. So yes, this one, I had to double check the notices on both of these quite a few times just to make sure the numbers were lining up. So again, with this one, I did also consolidate my report here for the consent and the zoning bylaw amendment, but again, currently we're in the committee, so I will speak to the zoning portion later. So as noted, the subject lands have a municipal address of 25391 Wood Road. This consent is also for a surplus farm dwelling severance. The severed parcel would be approximately 1.63 acres in size and contain the existing single detached residential dwelling. The retained parcel would be approximately 30 acres in size and contain agricultural land and crop production, a storage barn, and a silo. The consent application and zoning bylaw amendment application were circulated on a consolidated notice in accordance with the requirements of the Planning Act. Standard comments were received from Building and Emergency Services, and the Conservation Authority, being St. Clair, noted no concerns. Additionally, no comments were received by members of the public prior to my report submission. The policy context and my analysis is detailed in my report, so again, I will keep this short and sweet. But staff are satisfied the criteria to qualify for a surplus farm dwelling severance have been met and that the severed lot is an appropriate size, being approximately 1.63 acres. I would just add that generally flag-shaped lots are not ideal. However, they are appropriate in some instances where it would otherwise result in significantly more agricultural lands and crop production being left with a severed surplus dwelling lot. Standard conditions are recommended and will be where technical details are worked out. I would note that staff are asking for the lot line on the north just to be straightened up there, so it's easier for property line delineation in the future, essentially just getting rid of that jut out and straightening it down. And that would, again, lead to a more regular shaped parcel. So for the reasons outlined in my report, I am recommending the consent be approved with conditions, and certainly here to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashley. Paul, would you like to speak to this application?
Just very briefly, most of the items were essentially related to my previous submissions. I will just note for council that we're content to square up the line and carry it forward in the same manner that we have on the road portion or the driveway portion. And I would make the same submission with respect to condition 17 regarding the wells. I don't think that condition is necessary. There's only one well on the property and it's in use. But you've already heard my submissions on that issue, so I will leave it at that. Thank you.
So there's one well on the property that the house is using right now, that, so you just need someone to say there's not two wells on the property, right?
I believe that's what the condition, we'd have to pay somebody to write an opinion about that, yes.
Okay. All right, council, do you have any questions for Paul? Seeing none then, is there anyone in the gallery that would like to speak to this application? Okay, council, you have before you a recommendation that the application for consent B 04-2026 submitted under section 53 of the Planning Act be granted by the Township of Adelaide Metcalfe's Committee of Adjustment, subject to the 20 conditions that are tied with that application. A mover and a seconder, moved by Councillor McKinnon, seconded by Councillor Brody. Yeah, any further discussion? All in favor? Further discussion? Go ahead, Councillor Kingma.
Yeah, we're rushing along. Condition 17 can be scrapped unless Ashley has a compelling map showing the possibility of extra wells.
Go ahead, Ashley.
Thank you, Chair or Chair Clark. I'm so sorry. I would be okay with condition 17 in this case. The well records did only show one for this property. I was just trying to be consistent between the two applications, but I'm not concerned in this particular instance.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion? Do you want to make a friendly amendment? Or do you want to take it to a vote? Okay, all in favor of have the application as presented with all 20 conditions? Moved by Councillor McKinnon? No, no, it was. Well, we're voting on it, so you're in favor? Okay, so that is not carried. So we'll put it back on the floor. Does someone want to make a new motion? Councillor Kingma, go ahead.
I would make a motion that we subtract item 17 from the requested conditions.
A mover, that's moved by Councillor Kingma that to approve the application excluding item or condition number 17. Is there a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Campbell. Any further discussion? Seeing none then, all in favor? How many in favor? 1, 2, 3. Okay, that carries. Okay, we have a recommendation that the council convene into a public meeting at Yeah. We need to adjourn the Committee of Adjustment meeting first. Sorry about that. I'm trying to find out what time it is and everything. Okay, at 7:47, moved by Counselor Kingma, seconded by Counselor Campbell, all in favor, and that's carried. Okay, we have a recommendation that council convene into a public meeting at 7:47 PM. Mover and a seconder, moved by Counselor Kingma, seconded by Counselor Brody, all in favor, and that's carried. Okay, I'll turn this portion of the meeting back over to Ashley. This is for an application for zoning bylaw amendment Z 02-2026. And this is the Corneliuson property to Veenendahl. Did I get that right?
Thank you, Mayor Clark. So the zoning that is required to facilitate the lot adjustment at 2988 Mulla Ferry Drive for the proposed agricultural seed business is what is before you now. So originally, when the surplus dwelling lot at 2988 Mulla Ferry was severed from the surrounding farmland, it was rezoned to a site-specific surplus dwelling zone, and the farmland was rezoned to agriculture only. So as a result, that 0.5 acres being merged with the 2988 Mulla Ferry Drive property currently has an agriculture only zone on it. So the zoning bylaw amendment is to make that piece also the surplus dwelling site specific zone, and then also include site specific permissions to operate the agricultural seed business. So just amending essentially the wording in the zoning bylaw itself. So I would say we have gone through the site specific permissions and carefully crafted them just to ensure that the business remains appropriate for the property. As noted, it is a unique property and that there is a dwelling on it currently. And ultimately, we want to ensure that it doesn't conflict with that dwelling and surrounding agricultural operations. So the site-specific permissions recognize the size of the proposed structure, meaning that it couldn't expand without zoning relief and coming back before the committee or council. We've also limited the number of employees other than the property owner to one, just noting that currently the property owner is the only employee, but it does give him a little bit of leeway there to hire someone. We've included a restriction against outdoor storage just to ensure that the property remains in compliance with property standards. And additionally, the requirement to use the existing easternmost driveway just to ensure that that driveway being utilized for the seed business is the one that's farthest away from the dwelling. And I did also throw in a permission that they can have an unlit sign on the property just to provide them with some flexibility. So for the reasons outlined in my report, I'm recommending that this bylaw amendment be approved and that all 3 readings of the bylaw occur this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashley. Council, do you have any questions regarding this zoning amendment? Okay, seeing none, we have a recommendation that council receive a report for information for zoning bylaw amendment application ZBA 02-2026, which proposes to rezone the added parcel of consent B2-2026 from agriculture only zone to the site-specific surplus dwelling SD-6 zone, and to amend the verbiage of the surplus dwelling SD-6 zone to permit the operation of a seed business, and further that the rezoning application ZBA-02-2026 be approved, and further that the associated implementing bylaw be read a first, second, third, and final time in open session. And the reasons are included in your package. Is there any applicant that would like to speak to this? Okay, seeing none, and is there anybody in the gallery that would like to speak to this? Council, do you have any further questions? If not, then I've read the motion. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Counselor Kingma, seconded by Counselor McKinnon, all in favor, and that is carried. Next up is the application for zoning bylaw amendment, excuse me, Z 03-2026, McRoberts Farms, and Paul is the agent again. And this is regarding 25319 Wood Road. So Ashley, take it away.
Thank you. So this is the zoning to accompany the surplus farm dwelling severance, again at 25319 Wood Road. So the farmland portion outlined in yellow would be rezoned to agriculture only as required by the provincial planning statement and the county and township official plans. And then the severed lot would be rezoned to the surplus dwelling zone, a site-specific one to recognize the rural residential use of the property and to recognize the height and square footage of the existing storage shed. So staff generally no concerns with the site-specific relief, as ultimately it's maintaining an existing structure that doesn't introduce new land use impacts. So we have included a provision that essentially only permits that existing structure to remain in its current form, meaning that any future structures have to comply with the requirements you've set in the zoning bylaw. So as such, for the reasons outlined in my report, I am recommending that the zoning bylaw amendment be approved in principle and that the bylaw come back before council at a future date for all 3 readings, once we have the deposited reference plan, otherwise known as your survey, from the associated consent. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashley. Paul, did you want to speak to this?
Thank you. I have no comment.
Council, any questions for Ashley or Paul? Okay, and is there anyone in the gallery that wants to speak to this? Okay, seeing none, then we have a recommendation that council receive the report for information for zoning bylaw amendment application ZBA 03 2026, which proposes to rezone the severed parcel of the consent B3 2026 from general agricultural zone to a site-specific surplus dwelling zone and to rezone the retained parcel of consent B3 2026 from general agriculture zone to agricultural only. And further, that the rezoning application ZBA 03 2026 be approved in principle. And further, that the associated implementing bylaw be read a first, second, and third and final time in open session following the deposit of a reference plan. And Ashley's laid out her reasoning behind the recommendation. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor McKinnon, seconded by Councillor Campbell. Any further discussion? All in favor? And that's carried. Next application for a zoning bylaw amendment Z04 2026 is regarding 25391 Wood Road. And owner is Alan McRoberts and the agent once again is Paul Hendricks. So Ashley, over to you.
Thank you. So again, this is just a zoning to accompany the surplus farm dwelling severance that we talked about earlier. The farmland would be rezoned to the agriculture only zone, again, as required by the applicable policy framework. And the severed lot would be rezoned to recognize the rural residential use of the property and to recognize the proposed frontage, which is a result of the flag-shaped lot. So technically it's under what is required. And then one last time, for the reasons outlined in my report, I am recommending the zoning bylaw amendment be approved in principle and then that the bylaw comes back at a future date once we have that reference plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashley. Paul, anything you'd like to add?
Thank you again. I have no comments.
Council, do you have any questions for Ashley or Paul? Is there anyone in the gallery that would like to speak to the application? Seeing no one does, then we have a recommendation that council receive the report for information for zoning bylaw amendment application ZBA 04 2026, which proposes to rezone the severed parcel of consent B04 2026 from general agriculture zone to a site-specific surplus dwelling zone and to rezone the retained parcel of the consent B04 2026 from general agricultural zone to agriculture only. And further, that the rezoning application ZBA 04 2026 be approved in principle. And further, that the associated implementing bylaw be read a first, second, third, and final time in open session following the deposit of a reference plan. And Ashley's laid out her reasoning behind the recommendation. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Campbell, seconded by Councillor Kingma. All in favor? And that's carried. Okay, the next item on our agenda is item 4, the official plan review. Official plan amendment number 16. And this portion of the meeting will be presented by Abby Heidel Jacobs. And I'll turn it over to you now.
Thank you. I'll just let the clerk get the PowerPoint up on the Zoom meeting before I start. Thanks. We could probably jump right to the agenda slide. So on the agenda for today, we have the purpose for today. We're going to go over what an official plan is, what we have done to date, some of the proposed changes, and then we'll go into the public meeting, and then I'll briefly talk about next steps. Next slide, please. So I'm going to hand this over to Morgan, the CAO.
Yes, this is my slide, but I just want to make sure it was very clear this evening for council that we're only looking at alignment with the provincial legislative changes that have happened over the last few years, including the county's recently adopted, approved official plan. What we're not here to do is consider land use policies or the schedules within the official plan today. There might be some minor updates in terms of some policy references based on how things go this evening, but any land use changes will be considered at a future phase. Any submissions that we've received based on land use submissions in the township will be considered at that time. Okay.
Thank you. So we can go on to the next slide. So what is an official plan? It is a comprehensive document that contains goals, policies, and land use schedules, and that sets the framework for land use decisions and detailed planning and provision of municipal services. An official plan generally indicates where certain land uses, including housing, agriculture, industry, commercial, and retail land uses will be located. So in terms of consultation and engagement and what we've done to date, so certainly we did start this process a while ago. Back in 2023 was when we held the official Section 26 public meeting, but due to a slew of provincial housing bills, a new provincial planning statement being implemented, and then the requirement for the county official plan update last year, the process has kind of dragged out a little bit further than we had originally anticipated, because certainly all of the stuff that we've gotten from the province over the last few years, we couldn't have predicted. So we hosted a council visioning session back in 2023 following that Section 26 meeting. We also released a community survey back in 2023. We hosted a non-statutory public open house in 2023 at the Fire Hall in Kerwood. And then we hosted the statutory public open house this year in June of 2026. And then we've also had kind of informal meetings with certain staff here at the township, including the CAO, Public Works, the clerk, kind of throughout the duration of the entire process. And then, yeah, the next slide just kind of lays it out, where we started, where we're at today, and then kind of where we're going forward with the process. So next slide, please. Next slide, please. So in terms of an overarching view of the general policy updates, so first and foremost, this OPA would reflect provincial changes and conformity exercise with the county official plan, which was recently approved. So this includes revising policies to reflect any changes to matters of provincial interest. It includes a land acknowledgement and references to First Nations consultation, which is both rooted in the previous county official plan review, which was approved in 2023, as well as the recently approved county official plan, which was in June of 2025. We've also amended the policies, or we're proposing to amend the policies to include any changes resulting from provincial housing bills. So generally, this would include changes to the site plan control process and additional residential units. And as well, we are proposing to amend the policies to include any changes resulting from the recently approved county official plan update. So next slide, please. In terms of settlement areas, the draft does include policy requirements related to the expansion of settlement areas. So that was a change that's rooted in the new provincial planning statement and some changes to the Planning Act, actually, that allow for applicants to privately initiate settlement area boundary expansions through an official plan amendment. So we just included some criteria largely based in the PPS, as well as some trickle down from the county official plan. And then as well, this would include some regard paid to the updated population, housing, and employment projections. So in terms of housing, we have some proposed policies that speak to additional residential units, and this includes permitting them in both settlement areas and your agricultural areas. So changes to the Planning Act allow for additional residential units as of right on fully serviced lots. However, we've just kind of carried that over to apply to hamlets and settlement areas of that nature that may not be fully serviced. And then the new provincial planning statement, or I guess the 2024 provincial planning statement, allows for additional residential units in agricultural areas. So we've included policies that speak to those as well. The proposed policies also build on and bring the temporary garden suite policies into alignment with the Planning Act. We have some regard for farm worker housing, which is just treated as an agricultural use now under the new provincial framework. And then we've kind of just increased policy support for additional housing options in your settlement areas. So as it relates to agricultural and rural areas, we're proposing to amend the policies to permit agriculture-related and on-farm diversified uses subject to criteria. We're proposing to revise the criteria for surplus farm dwelling consents because that did slightly change in the new provincial planning statement. We've reviewed and updated some of the policies that speak to MDS, minimum distance separation. And then we've also started to implement an agricultural systems approach, which we did at the county level as well. And this essentially just provides policy direction as it relates to the agricultural land base, as well as agri-supportive businesses and just the protection of those types of establishments. So in terms of natural heritage and source water protection, the draft proposes updates to the natural heritage policies to further protect natural heritage features, and it kind of brings it into alignment with the county OP, as well as recent provincial changes that have amended certain distances and stuff like that. We've reviewed the land use schedules to ensure that they meet what's provided to us by the conservation authorities and all of that good stuff. And then we've also implemented updated source water protection policies, and that's based on work that was done back in, I want to say 2014, through the Natural Heritage Systems Review with the county. So in terms of employment, industry, and economic development, as I recently stated, we have included policies that support your agriculture-related and on-farm diversified uses, which is key in an agricultural context. And then we've also ensured PPS alignment in this regard because there were some changes in regards to how employment areas are treated, in that the PPS, has scoped the uses to really include heavy industry as opposed to some of these mixed use areas that we used to see with like commercial components. So we've ensured that language meets the PPS. And then in terms of population and housing and employment forecasts, so the PPS requires that planning authorities base their population, housing, and employment projections on those provided by the Ministry of Finance. And so through County Official Plan Amendment number 4, we had new population, housing, and employment projections put into the county OP that are based on the 2024 Ministry of Finance projections. And so those are now being carried over into the local municipal official plans. So that's what we're seeing here before us today. So these projections do show decently strong growth for the township. As you can see, between 2026 and 2056, you're looking at about 600 additional households in the township. So yeah, they are showing strong growth.
Okay, is there anyone in the gallery that has any questions or would like to speak to this official plan? Jay, come on up. Coulter, can you? Just have a seat where Coulter, or maybe they're gonna slide, I don't know what they're gonna do here. Go ahead, Jay.
Good evening. Thank you, Your Worship and members of council. Jay McGuffin, Monteith Brown Planning Consultants here on behalf of my client, LaSalle Farms and LaSalle Agri. Just one comment. Want to thank staff for listening to us at the open house and modifying the mapping. There was what we were told, a mapping error on the official plan was being processed. But there was a two-part ask, and although I understand the comments provided by the CAO, I want to be very clear to council that what I'm asking for is not a consideration of a land use change, but rather a consideration of a correction of a mapping error in your official plan. The entirety of my client's property is zoned for industrial uses, but the entirety of the property is not designated. There was an omission of a triangular piece in the northeast corner of the property on the official plan schedule. The entirety of the property is zoned pursuant to Section 24 of the Planning Act. The zoning is deemed to conform with the official plan, and our client is asking for the official plan mapping to align with the zoning mapping so that the two documents are not out of coordination. That is our request. Not looking at expanding any land use, not looking at modifying or adding land uses, simply correcting a mapping error within the official plan to be consistent with the in-force and effect zoning. Thank you.
Thank you. Ashley, or Abby, would you like to speak to that comment, please?
Yes, thank you. Really our intent here tonight is to listen to the public. And certainly I do recognize where Jay is coming from here tonight. I cannot speak to how the special policy area on his client's property, like how that was delineated. I've always seen it the way that it is today. So I can't confirm or deny that it's the result of a mapping error. But certainly staff are listening, and I will take those comments as feedback and certainly give it some consideration before we bring a finalized document back for council's consideration. Thank you.
Councillor Kingma, go ahead.
Forgive me for this comment. What created this mapping error?
Sorry.
Yeah, I would suggest that, looking at the map, we don't know how those lines were drawn at that time. It could have been a simple GIS error when they were transitioning between GIS systems, because we're seeing new mapping across. What's that system that IT just installed? Doesn't matter. We don't know how those lines were drawn, by whom and for what purposes. So we still have to do some investigation to understand Jay's comments.
Okay, any other council have any questions or comments? Is there anyone else from the public that wants to speak to the OP? Okay, seeing none then, could I have do you not need a motion to receive that? No. Could I have a motion to receive Abby's report, please? Moved by Councillor McKinnon, seconded by Councillor Brody. Any further discussion? Questions? All in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, that's carried. Okay, we have a recommendation that the public meeting be adjourned at 8:11 PM. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Counselor Campbell, seconded by Counselor Brody. All in favor? I missed number 2, didn't I? Okay, sorry, go ahead.
Well, Council, you're aware of this.
Thank you, CAO. So in terms of next steps, staff are going to review comments and feedback that we received tonight, as well as any written submissions that we've received throughout this process. We will make revisions where they're warranted, if they meet, the tests of good land use planning. We intend to bring the document back for council adoption, hopefully next month. That's our intention. And then the document will be forwarded to County Council for approval. Thank you.
And just so I can jump in, if council has any questions, I heard from a couple councilors even today about a number of things that can be changed. If you have those, if you'd like to discuss them, don't hesitate to talk to me, and then I can talk to Abby, or talk to Abby and she can talk to me, or whatever. Just let us know what you're thinking.
Yeah, certainly. Just to reiterate what the CAO said, my phone is always on, my email is always open. So if there are any additional thoughts that you do have after this meeting tonight, I'm always available to talk or, receive your comments. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, next up is our, I'm not going to call, I was going to call it a delegation, but it's a presentation from the Kerwood Sewage Treatment Facility Report 2026. And we'll call upon Joe Daly, the Senior Operations Manager with Ontario Clean Water Agency, also affectionately known as Aqua. So come on up to the microphone.
Okay, evening, everyone. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilors and staff for having me here today. I'm Joe Daly, Senior Operations Manager for Aqua. Today I have the Kerwood Sewage Treatment Facility Report for 2026. To start with the compliance summary, there have been no non-compliances reported in 2026. We have not experienced any MECP or MOL inspections this year. Under the performance assessment report, table 1 shows our raw water testing results. These parameters are coming into the plant pretty high. This could be due to the higher than normal flows experienced throughout Q1 and early Q2, believed to be from snowmelt, heavy precipitation during this time period. Effluent testing has been completed throughout the year as per ECA requirements. You'll see in the report we are currently operating through treatment unit 3 and 4, which flows into pump station 3. The other side of the plant is currently inoperable. The plants that operate that side of the plant are in need of replacement, and that is captured in our major maintenance plan, which I will touch on later in the report. The ECA specifies reporting is required if the nitrate results exceed 2.5 milligrams per liter, and this limit has not been exceeded in 2026. Groundwater testing is also completed on a quarterly basis. All 2026 results meet Ontario's provincial water quality objectives. The total volume discharged through the plant in 2026 is 32,675 meters cubed, which has our daily flow at 180.86 meters cubed. This number exceeds the facility's rated capacity of 120 meters cubed per day. But as mentioned before, flows were certainly higher in the first 4 months of the year due to the snowmelt precipitation, things like that. We've also been experiencing some troubles with the effluent flow meter, which is believed to be giving false high readings at times, which could be skewing these numbers. The actual plant capacity is believed to actually be around 25%, so much lower than those numbers show. We're continuing to investigate and monitor this device. We have received a recommendation from a specialist to replace it, and costs for this will also be captured in the major maintenance plan. Again, I'll touch on this later. There were no occupational health and safety issues identified in the first half of the year. There's a general maintenance section in the report. This captures out of scope maintenance activities, not including preventative maintenance Aqua staff complete throughout the year. In the first quarter, we experienced some issues with the flow meter mentioned previously. Sorry, third party completed an inspection on the generator diesel tank to satisfy TSSA requirements. Blower 2 and 4 had issues. We had an electrician on site to repair blower 4, and blower 2 is currently being rebuilt. The second quarter, we had a third party on site to inspect the davit arm and chain fall used to pull process pumps. We also had a mechanical company on site to repair the guide rails for a raw pump. This work required a vac truck as well to remove the contents from the raw well. The same pump caused some electrical issues, which have since been fixed. The pump now runs in auto, but is slightly underperforming. We did receive some after hours alarms due to high raw well levels. These are all related to the raw pump issues mentioned before. We have been using some pumps at times when these issues occur, which are more than capable of handling the facility's flows. One community concern was received in the second quarter on June 23rd. The concern was related to an open manhole in the facility compound. This was open to run hose for the sump pumps in use. In response to this concern, Aqua staff have coned off the manhole and placed tape around the area. I should also note the facility is also completely fenced and locked when staff is not on site. In conclusion to the report, this facility is currently meeting compliance and ECA requirements. However, there are ongoing challenges in the process along with room for improvement. I kind of skipped by this in section 7, capital maintenance, and mentioned it before, but I'll touch on it now. So I've been working closely with Adelaide Metcalfe staff to tackle these challenges that we've experiencing. So we are currently creating a rolling 6-year major maintenance plan, which will highlight facility needs, both short and long term. This will help not only with the communication from the boots on the ground or Aqua to the township staff, but also allows us to prioritize and plan for these facility needs rather than react as needed, which can result in unplanned costs and operational issues. This plan will be finalized in the near future, and I believe Mr. Cahill will be presenting this to council prior to budgetary approvals. That's all I have for the report. Other than questions, thank you.
Thank you, Joe. I was just thinking that, how are we going to budget for that? But we'll look forward to the, or maybe we won't look forward to, depends on how high the number is, I guess. Any questions for Joe? Councilor McKinnon, go ahead.
For you to Auckland. A number of occasions there's been clogging. What's doing the clogging? Not who, but what? We think we know who.
Through you, Madam Mayor, to the councillor. Just a quick question. So where is the clogging that you're referring to, like in the collection system itself or throughout the plant?
Throughout the plant.
Right. Okay. So this facility doesn't have like a bar screen equipped to it, which you would see in a lot of wastewater applications. So we are also tackling that with a major maintenance recommendation. So anything that gets flushed down the drains eventually gets to that plant, can cause clogging in the pumps, things like that. We'd also like to recommend, and I've been in touch with Coulter about this, kind of some education to the public about what should be flushed, what shouldn't be. So you'll see rags and stuff get through to the process, which affects pumps and other parts of the process.
Okay.
Hope that answers your question.
Yeah, I think that we've been struggling with baby wipes. I think that's been one of the things. And I know that the Coulter and his team have actually gone door to door with notices to try to educate people. So we'll probably have to continue doing that. Joe, did you want to introduce the team that you brought with you today? Just if you don't
Yes, a
mind.
couple colleagues here. I have Megan Garber here, who is our safety process and compliance manager for the area. And Robin Trepanier, who is our business development manager.
Come on up, Megan.
Through you, Madam Mayor. Thank you. Public outreach is one of my favorite things, and I find a lot of value in our One Water program that gets delivered to schools across the province. I was early for the meeting, so pulled into the public school down the road, and I don't believe I've ever been there. So I think that is one thing in order to help the municipality is to reach out to my education and outreach coordinator to mention that that public school should be on our radar so that we can reach out to, it's tailored to grade 7 and 8 students. But that's always a great one because we promote that to the kids and then they go home and tell their parents and all their friends of what should be flushed and what shouldn't. So I'll take that back with me and hopefully that will help as well in the community.
I think that's a great idea. So we'll pass that on to the school as well. That's
Thank you.
awesome. Thank you very much for that. Oftentimes kids will live and the parents listen to the kids, right? So that's always a good thing. Okay, are there any other questions or comments anybody has for the Aqua team? Seeing none, then we have a recommendation that council receive the Kerwood Sewage Treatment Facility Report 2026 presentation. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Kingma, seconded by Councillor Brody. All in favor? And that's carried. Thanks for coming out. We really appreciate it. And it was nice meeting you, Megan. Okay, next on our agenda, we have item 6D. We have a presentation from Dr. Tyler Damon from Strathroy Hospice Building a Legacy of Care Committee, I guess it is at this point. So come on up and I'll turn the microphone over to you there. You just have to push the button at the bottom there. Welcome to the meeting.
Good evening, Your Worship and members of council. Thanks so much for giving me the opportunity to speak today. I'm here to basically to present. I'm going from in each area to present where we're at in our to bring a hospice to Middlesex County. So Middlesex County remains, there we go, sound, the only area in all of Ontario that has 0 hospice beds. So tonight I'm going to share why this project is important, where we are today, and how your support can help make this a reality. So current options in the area for end-of-life care in Middlesex County and outside of London is 0. So everybody, in order to receive hospice care, has to travel outside of the county, and either that or remain in acute care hospital beds or enter long-term care facility homes that aren't designated for, or they're designated but aren't designed for end-of-life care, and they try to manage that complex care at home. So these are the most difficult days of families' lives, and residents of Middlesex County, we believe, deserve the same opportunity to receive this end-of-life compassionate care that residents in our neighboring communities do get. So as we saw in the planning report, as the population continues to grow, the need for hospice care also continues to grow. So our population is aging, and the more and more residents are living longer with illnesses such as cancer, heart disease, COPD, dementia, neurological diseases. We can move. Yeah, perfect. So why we want hospice care is it reduces a lot of pressure on the hospital system. So fewer emergency department visits, reduced hospital stays, shorter stays. So it reduces better utilization of the hospital beds, and it reduces overall hospital costs. And most importantly, it is better outcome for our patients and families in our county. So Hospice complements the hospitals and long-term care homes like greatly. It doesn't replace them. We talk about the long-term care homes. Lots of people, if you're in a long-term care home and you are approaching end of life care, then you get to stay there. But it's the people that aren't there are often like, you can't get in. You can't be like, oh, I'm kind of like, there's no opportunity there. So we've had that question in a couple other meetings too. So I thought I'd just get ahead of it, that they can't get in. Everybody knows that there's waiting lists for those facilities anyway. So we can move to the next one. Next slide. So who this hospice will serve. Although it is currently called Strathroy Hospice, it is not. That was just a name I wrote down like 4 years ago when I was applying to get the company. It's just a placeholder name. It is going to be named after a large donor will change eventually. This is not a Strathroy project. This is like a county project. I live in Kaiser Corners. This is for our whole county. Like, this isn't for us. It just was a name. It'll serve all residents throughout Middlesex County, including our rural communities and Indigenous communities. Families shouldn't have to leave their community to receive this kind of care. So this will show that in that area where we are at, and that Middlesex County is the only one that has 0, and our goal is to change that. So you can go to the next slide. Middlesex London, this is the list of the hospice beds demand, and you'll see Middlesex London at the top, where we have the gap for hospice care is 38. So now, the last meeting I was at, they said it's up to 48. So with 10 more being required in London, we have 0. So it's not about replacing a gap or anything. It's about starting the process of even entering into this. Our whole goal is to start with one and learn the framework, and then teach everybody else in the area that wants to. It's just the beginning of a lot. We're applying for 5 beds. We want to have 5 to start. In the application, it says 10, because we'd like to be able to eventually build 10 if we need to, but we know it doesn't even touch the need. The 5 beds is such a tiny amount, but due to risks of donor fatigue and understanding our community and what we can afford and how fast we can accomplish it, we're going after the 5 beds first. So you can go to the next slide there. So you'll see there will still be a gap of 33 beds. Where we're proposing to have this happen is right between Mount Bridges and Strathroy, in that region. So it's kind of in the center of that horseshoe in a way, but we do see the need for more. There is one that Lucan gets to use. There's a hospice out there that they have. It's close enough to them that they get to use it as more than a lot of other areas. And we know that it's a far trek for Dorchester, and they go through London. So this is very much geared for our rural area. And you can go to the next slide, I believe. No, keep going. That was just a story from one of our board members.
My family holds hospice very near and dear to our hearts. During a time of profound sadness, hospice gave us peace and strength. In Rick's final days, we were able to focus on Rick and each other and not be consumed with trying to manage his care and pain. Rick wanted to die at home. Unfortunately, our family home, as like most homes, was not suited for a hospital bed and all the medical equipment that Rick would require. During conversations with our children, we all wanted to keep the memories of their childhood home happy. When we all came to the decision to make hospice our choice, we were not able to get Rick into the closest hospice, which was in London. Our next option was either Kitchener or Waterloo or Windsor. We qualified for these out-of-area hospices only because we had extended family in these areas. But this meant we would have to leave our own community of Strathroy. We had no choice, and the day we got the call to go to Lassard Hospice in Cambridge, we left. When we arrived at hospice, we were greeted by such a beautiful setting, a home-like environment with medical, palliative staff, and volunteers who cared for Rick and all his family. The staff and volunteers at hospice are angels that walk among us. I truly believe this. Because of my family's hospice experience, my sister and brother-in-law both now volunteer. I remember the hospice doctor telling me, "Mrs. Steffler, we will not win this war, but we will win the battle of pain." He told me Rick's pain was coming from multiple areas, and we would treat all the areas differently. Within 15 minutes of arriving at hospice, Rick's pain was finally under control. He never experienced another horrific pain crisis again. In Rick's final days, we never had to leave his side. Hospice was set up for whatever any of us needed. Rick passed away peacefully in a beautiful sunroom, surrounded by his family, just like he wanted, in a home-like setting, not cramped in a hospital ward. Our family will be forever grateful and changed by our hospice experience. It is our hope and dream that hospice will one day be available for all Strathroy area residents who need it.
As our hope is that no family in Middlesex County should ever have to journey during the final days of their loved ones' lives. We would like to bring that experience closer. That's Kathleen. She's one of my board members. 6 years ago, she came after I've known Rick, and we sat down in her living room, and she told me all about her experience through that. And I just had a recent experience with my father-in-law, and we were in Strathroy Hospital, and couldn't get him into any hospice. He was in sharing a bed, sharing a room with two other men, all three of them dying. He was miserable. I luckily had an empty rental home, so I moved him in there, brought him full-time care, and my wife was 8 months pregnant at the time. They were able to spend that time together, but I was able to afford it. I had the opportunity to, and it was quickly realized that that's not a normal circumstance, and that it's not, if you can't get them anywhere. And we tried in all different areas to get him in. We just didn't have the connections. We didn't have so we were kind of left in limbo, and he would have spent what ended up being 3 months in a hospital room in Strathroy Hospital. So this was kind of the eye-opening moment for me, and then talking and realizing the other options and then that are there. And so that's where this whole thing kind of began. So where we are today, the project has made tremendous progress especially in the last 2 years. It was been about 5 years since I started, but in the last 2 years, we were given status to be a company that can run a hospice, and then we got charitable status, and then I put the board together, and we started work on seeing about getting beds and getting land. So we've got the support of all the healthcare leaders in the area. These organizations have recognized that this is the missing piece of the healthcare in Middlesex County, and we have a strong application to the Ministry of Health. The only thing holding us back is that we don't have the land. So we are at a position where we have donated land to us, but it's not in our name. So we are a company with a passion, and now we have $1.55 million in a year and a half-ish of fundraising with just complete board of volunteers. We don't have anybody on staff yet. It's just us. And we're extremely proud of how well we've done and what we've accomplished. We also have commitments once we get the land that take us just over 4 million. So once we get a shovel in the ground, we're flying. So it's kind of like what I've learned in the process is this is like a field of dreams situations. Once you build it, they will come. We will, once we get the thing built, then we can get operational support from the government. There is money that for capital that you can get to help build. We put our names in for, or we put our expression of interest in for the first one. They gave out 82 beds. We didn't get that because we didn't have the land. So unfortunately, we didn't get it. We got put in the 8 instead of the 3-year plan. We're in the 8-year plan, but still means we can build it whenever. We can always apply, hope to get it. We have every meeting that I've been in, they're extremely supportive because of where they finally realize we're not just a bunch of dreamers, we're real, and that we will do it. And it's just now that it's the only area that's their only place in the red, their only gap that they can't, we're the best applicants. So we're hopeful that once we get a piece of land, wherever it is, that we will move forward very quickly. So this is a preliminary design. We have lots of designs, but this is kind of the look. We want to build a home-like setting. It'll be approximately 8,000 square feet. It'll be 5 private rooms, a welcoming common space, reflection gardens, access to path, the pond. We know that we're choosing an area that is zoned agricultural. We want the donated land there's 8 acres being donated. It was going to be less, but because we had to do some flipping of where the road is coming or the laneway is coming in, it'll be 5 acres removed out of primary agricultural land. But we know that that's not the easiest path. We have other pieces of land that we could go and buy and pick up. It saves us about $1 million to get this, and we believe that the residents in Middlesex County, we're a rural county. We deserve some people that we all know someone that the idea of going to a town for like into London would be the worst case scenario that they could ever do for their last days of their lives. We want to create something peaceful and rural, and so that you can still look out at the agricultural like surroundings that you've lived your whole life. So that's kind of, we realize that it's a tougher path in order to go down this one, but we've been saying this the whole time. I think that for our community, the juice is worth the squeeze on that one. So that's what we're hoping for. This is my board. So I'm the chair. My vice chair is Adelaide Metcalfe. He's a huge asset. He ran like I'm gonna blank on what it is. Which one did he run? Sprucedale? Yeah, the nursing home for long-term care. He built the one where the old high school used to be in Strathroy. He built that, ran it. He goes into the meetings that I don't understand all the short forms and stuff, and he knows them, so it's really helpful. But I have a extremely dedicated group. We have accomplished so much in the last little, but each person's there for a reason, including the goofy one that looks like my dad, because he was a building inspector in Strathroy for 30 years, so he's helpful. But we do think that this will impact our community massively, and we're asking for support from each municipal support to see if for a letter of support to demonstrate your commitment to healthy communities, supporting seniors, supporting caregivers, improving healthcare access, and ensuring that residents can remain close to home for their end of life. This isn't just for the people that are dying, it's for their loved ones around them. You go through a loss, and lots of times you're left on your own. Where this facility will be designed to make sure that everyone has guidance, doors to open right there to help them through their hardest times of their lives. That's something going through some loss through my life. I've wanted to make sure that there is a direct pathway to get the help you need when we need it. Our society, everybody knows that you're going to go through 2 things. You're going to be born and then you're going to die. We're very, very good at birth in our world, but we're not very good at death. And I think this should be showing our community and our whole county that we're going to get better at helping us when when we die. So tonight I'm asking for support and ensuring that we can build something, no matter where it is, to better serve our population. Thank you.
Thank you, Tyler. Are there any questions for Tyler? I know this is kind of a preliminary. I know they don't have all the nuts and bolts of the financial impact and all that because they're not there yet. And
We
you
do
might-
have a lot, all of that. We're just this is our whole purpose. Sorry to
Okay, go ahead.
Our whole purpose right now is to tell everybody where we're at. It is to go from each municipality and say, now that we've crossed over one threshold, we want to not be, like I branded it wrong years and years ago, that this is just like a Strathroy thing, but we want to make the word out that this isn't. This is Middlesex County's first of many, and we're just going to lead this undertaking like one bed at a time, basically.
Any questions? Counselor McKinnon, go ahead.
Through you to Dr. Damon. When you were in the process of looking for hospice for your family member, did you look at Newbury Four Counties Hospital, their suite that they have there for palliative care?
Hard to recall. That was 8 years ago. Which process, whether that the palliative care process to get into palliative wasn't clear. You're kind of left. We were trying for Owen Sound and London hospice, and then the one in Woodstock. We couldn't get into any of those. So I had my way out. So I'm sure if there was more and more ways, like there's 2 palliative care suites sometimes that are open in Strathroy too. There are options. There's just shocking. It's difficult to get into, or how few, like if somebody's going to survive for 3-4 months and I visited all these hospices. There was a gentleman that had been living in hospice for almost a year. It's the turnover's not always what we think it's going to be. So it's about the experience. Each and every one has the experience of at that moment in time. So at that time, I'm not sure. I couldn't tell you.
Anyone else a question? Counselor Kingma, go ahead.
Through the mayor to Tyler, it's a really, really worthy process that you're being challenged by. I was wondering if you had enough advanced understanding of how it's going to be administered, whether you're going to align with the hospital in Strathroy or Sprucedale or so on, how that will look.
We have got full support of Strathroy Hospital. Will be aligned directly with them. I've been working with the CEO in there since she came into it. Basically, how the hospice works is we take referrals from all the local doctors, from the hospital, from the long-term care facilities. But where that process is and how that we're not even close to there. We're still at trying to get through the Planning Act and getting a shovel. Like there's so many things that coming up that we have experts in line for, but we're just like, I crack backs for a living and raise money. That's my world. So like, I'm not going to be the administrator of this, but that's where Darren comes in. But we've got letters of support from every single medical facility or medical team both from London, Middlesex, and Sarnia. Every single person has given us their support.
Any other questions? I have a couple. For full transparency, you did a presentation, I believe, to Strathroy Care Council, and they approved in principle your proposal. Is that correct?
They approved to get, when we go to the planning aspect for the land that we are proposing, they did approve to go forward to county, which is going in front of county council next month.
I just wanted council to know that Strathroy was presented with the proposal and the subject land. I believe it's on Walker's Drive. And their council approved it, but it has to go to county council. And I won't get into any more details than that, but. And then you had mentioned that Lucan has um, um, a hospice, but do you mean like Exeter and the Lucan people use Exeter? Okay, I just wanted to clarify for.
But when we look at distance, that's why we kind of look at it, there's the spot, there's the big hole, because they have one, put it on the map, Exeter's pretty close.
Yeah, I just wanted clarity there because you had mentioned Lucan. I just didn't want people thinking we've got a secret one there that nobody knows about. Okay, yeah, so, yeah. Yeah. Any other questions for Dr. Damon? Seeing none, I'd like to thank you for coming and presenting to council, and I can tell you for free that his door is always open. If you have any further questions or you need clarification, don't hesitate to reach out. We have a recommendation that council receive the Strathroy Hospice Building a Legacy of Care presentation. Moved by Councillor McKinnon, seconded by Councillor Campbell. All in favor? And that's carried. Thanks again for coming out. Okay, next on our agenda is the consent agenda. Is there anything on there that you'd like pulled out for discussion? Councillor Kingma, go ahead.
7C.
Anything else? Okay, could I then turn it over to you? You're on the board for Blue Water Recycling, so you'd be best equipped to answer your own questions.
I appreciate your optimism. Anyway, I was going to ask, and I don't need to have the answer tonight. I'm just wondering if we have a feel for how many of these red lidded wheelie bins are still going to be in circulation. I think the cutoff for declaring an intent is supposed to be the end of this month. Does Johnny know the answer by any chance?
Johnny, our treasurer, can you speak to that?
Through the mayor to Councilor Kingma. I don't know the number off the top of my head, but our financial analyst has been in contact with BRA to get the updated listing. There has been a number of properties that did reach out to remove recycling bins, but there's still quite a few that have the bins. And from what we know is they're willing to accept those charges. But once the bills go out, we could receive more feedback, which I can provide to council at that time if you'd like.
Anything further? That answers your question for now? Okay. Yeah, there might be some more additional work that has to be done by the office, I'm guessing, so. All right, anything else? Seeing none then, could I have a motion to yeah, okay, could I have a motion to receive and file item 7C that you pulled out, Councillor Kingma? Moved by Councillor Kingma, a seconder. It's moved by Councillor Campbell, all in favor? And that's carried. And could I also have we have a recommendation to receive and file item 7A, B, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, and K under the heading of consent agenda for the July 20th, 2026 meeting of council be adopted as recommended. Mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Brody, seconded by Councillor McKinnon. All in favor? And that's carried. Next on our agenda is correspondence. We have a request from the City of Burlington to support a resolution on information on the new development charge reduction program. We have a request from the City of Mississauga to support a resolution, provincial review of women and children experience intimate partner violence. From the County of Peterborough, a request to support a resolution for provincial action on the accuracy of municipal voters lists. From the Municipal Finance Officers Association of Ontario, a request to support a resolution on doubling of Ontario Community Infrastructure Fund. Councillor Kingma, go ahead.
It's easy to support this one. I believe the province shouldn't just be so fixated on application-based funding and shiny new infrastructure. They should also finance and help us finance the preservation of existing infrastructure. And OSIF is our go-to policy or program for that purpose.
Anybody else? Any comments? Okay, would you like to make that a motion? Okay, moved by Councillor Kingma that we support that resolution. Could I have a seconder? Moved by Councillor McKinnon. All in favor? And that's carried. Next up, we have a request from the municipality of Wawa to support a resolution regarding Finley's Law, and that's around ER wait times, and I believe Warden Marcus Ryan or Mayor Marcus Ryan actually brought that one forth. We have a request from the town of Caledon to support a resolution with respect to tick-borne diseases. A request from the town of Plimpton, Wyoming to support a resolution on Ontario Development Charge Reduction Program, similar to 8A. And we have a request from the town of Whitby to support a resolution on the Ontario Land Tribunal and enhancing deference to municipal planning decisions. A request from the town of Pushlynch to support a resolution on administrative monetary penalties. Councillor Kingma, go ahead.
I'm not supporting or filing. I have a question. Does Adelaide Metcalfe have a future in AMP? That's for the clerk.
Through the mayor to Councillor Kingma. Yes, we've discussed this actually internally, especially when this one came out about the zoning. So we already had the ability to apply AMP to our bylaw enforcement. It just a more streamlined process. And now we have a zoning compliance tool that's available to us. So that's what this one speaks to. Morgan and I did discuss this with Arnie Marsman, the chief building official. And they do have plans to look at AMP, but it wasn't till next year, I believe, Morgan, that they were, but we'd like to see that moving forward. And we agree that it's a more efficient process and we like it applied to both zoning compliance and our bylaw enforcement for tools.
Yeah, can I get a follow-up? I wondered if there are specific bylaws for which AMP would be applied. It wouldn't be a general approach, would it?
I can't, I know we have to pass bylaws to implement this AMP, so I'm not sure what that process is. If you designate each bylaw that you're going to be enforcing through AMP, and I believe that would be the case. But I'm unsure of any that you can't apply AMP to that has fines associated with it. So.
Okay, we dealt with 8D separately, so we have a recommendation that 8A, B, C, E, F, G, H, and I that council receive and file that correspondence. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Brody, seconded by Councillor Kingma. All in favor, and that's carried. Next up, our staff reports, 9A, our 2027 budget process. I'll turn this portion of the meeting over to our treasurer, Johnny Pereira.
Thank you, Mayor Clark. Through you to council. It's that time of year already. So this report is just outlining the 2027 budget creation process. As council is aware, the budget serves as an outline for how monies come into the township and how they should be spent to maintain and improve the township. A draft budget roadmap is attached to the report, which highlights the process to build that budget. To kick off the 2027 budget process, staff is again recommending launching a budget survey in August and to engage residents in this year's budget process. The survey would be communicated through the township social media platforms, the township website, and the final tax bill newsletter. Due to the upcoming municipal election in October, staff is recommending delaying the appointment of 2 councillors to the working group until after the new council has been elected. Staff would bring forward a report at a future council meeting once that council is sworn in. As far as the overall budget, the target is still to present the draft budget in December. However, recognizing that this is the first budget considered by the newly elected council, additional budget deliberations may be required, which could result in the budget approval extending into early 2027. I would kindly ask council to consider the recommendations outlined within the report. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thanks, Johnny. Just to jump in real quick, the 2027 budget development timeline unfortunately isn't on attached. So can you just circulate to council after the fact? Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, and just I'll state the obvious, like each department head is going to be working on their budgets ahead of that as well. So, any questions on that? Okay, seeing none then, there's a recommendation that the appointment of the 2 members of council to the 2027 budget working group be deferred until after the 2026 municipal election. And further, that staff bring forward a future report for council's consideration to appoint 2 members of council to the 2027 budget working group. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Campbell, seconded by Councillor McKinnon. All in favor? And that is carried. Next up is 9D, staff report regarding the Adelaide Metcalfe Fire Department. It's the second quarter of 2026 update. I'll turn this over to our Fire Chief, Dan Parker.
Thank you, Mayor Clark. Through you to council, the purpose of this report is to outline the activities of the Adelaide Metcalfe Fire Department for the second quarter of 2026. It's nice to say the second quarter is somewhat returned things to normal for us. Sorry, just having some difficulties here. In the second quarter of 2026, we had 19 incidents across the township. It's a typical steady call volume for this time of the year. We had 8 motor collisions, 2 fire responses, one being a large house structure, 4 alarms, smoke alarms or CO alarm calls, and 3 medical calls, one including CPR administered by firefighters on scene. And our April highlights, we had a joint training exercise with Strathroy Caradoc Fire Department, April the 21st. It was a major joint exercise with 50 firefighters on scene for the complex fire scenario. Exercise simulated a large barn fire with flames impinging on nearby structures. So the key highlights for that, we had Strathroy aerial truck 17 deployed to the area designated, and we tried to supply it with a large amount of water, and it was quite insightful to say that we could not keep enough water to the apparatus. It was a good heads up for all of us involved. The exercise strengthened our interdepartmental coordination, highlighting the challenges of rural firefighting, and provided meaningful hands-on experience with large-scale water movement and aerial operations. Continuing that, we moved on to our improving our water shuttle capabilities with some more May training, multiple tank operations at the fire hall. And we drilled several different variations and challenging ways to supply a large amount of water that in our different scenarios. And then in May, continuing on, we had a major motor vehicle collision at the corner of Center Road and Egremont Drive, involving children and a small vehicle fire. Car 1 responded quickly and was able to use a fire extinguisher on scene and knock the fire down. All passengers and drivers were able to exit the vehicles safely. As well, in May, we did have a deployment of our drone requested by OPP and Strathroy Caradoc Police. We used the drone to search an area after a car fire, looking for potential victims or patients that were underage. Luckily, no one was located in the area. And then continuing on in May, myself and firefighter Samantha Bolton participated at the Adelaide McDonald School annual fun fair. We had a fire prevention display, educational handouts for adults and children, and we engaged the community with fire safety messages for that afternoon and evening. June, we had our annual boot toll, along with, that was June the 6th. I'd like to say this is our 30th year of participating in the boot drive. We've raised over $48,000 over that time period. So we did have 2 high school students assisting with counting and rolling the funds collected, earning their volunteer hours for the high school graduation. On June the 29th, the Adelaide Metcalfe Fire Department did respond to a large house fire in the early morning hours, supported by 4 fire departments: Watford, Strathroy Caradoc, Burke, Alvington, and Glencoe. These departments provide tanker shuttle operations, manpower during extremely hot conditions. The deployment of our drone again was a huge success. We were able to use our infrared camera and locate hotspots within the home. We had steel roof cladding on top, so it was containing a lot of the fire inside. So we were able to get an excavator inside and highlight the hotspots, and the excavator was able to pull those apart. It was making it more efficient and a lot safer for our firefighters. Unfortunately, we did have one of our firefighters suffer heat exhaustion and dehydration at the scene and was transported to hospital and requiring hospital care. Luckily, he has made a full recovery after 4 days in the hospital. And as well, in the early morning after that, we did have a rekindle at that house. So a small crew was dispatched to pick a small fire apart and make sure that it was completely out. But on the way to that call, there was a train derailment, transport train right at the tracks in Kerwood. It did block our secondary trucks going across, but we were able to handle the situation. There was a large amount of debris scattered across the tracks and on the roadway. Our firefighters did assist EMS with transporting the conductors from the train to care in the ambulance. And as well, on June 29th, it was a very busy day. Another motor vehicle collision at Kerwood Road and Mullaferry Drive. One transport truck, the tractor only went through an intersection and hit a vehicle, Sprinter van, and it ended up on its side. And luckily, there was minor injuries there as well. And to top off, June 29th in the evening, The crews were dispatched to a CO alarm. It was found to be malfunctioning operating detectors, so luckily it was no issues there. Our fire prevention officer, Kyle Kirsavage, has been very busy. Ongoing files at a hotel property, monitoring for compliance with updated the fire code, ongoing correspondence with the new management to ensure required fire safety measures are implemented. As well, he's been to a retail home improvement store, checking the fire alarm systems and making sure the testing has been completed. As well, in April, he had a reinspection of a motel for fire safety plan approval and making sure it's fully implemented. As well, in April, residential basement apartment, time for an inspection, and one letter has been issued to the homeowner for not compliant. As well, May 29th, he had a agricultural greenhouse facility. The new operators requested review of the fire safety requirements that the facility is transitioning to. He did have a walkthrough, and several outstanding items remain from the previous inspection orders that need to be completed. In June, he attended a migrant worker housing, found it was compliant. And again, another migrant housing dwelling, it was found compliant as well. And June 12th, a request from a gas station with a stationary food truck inspection, and an order has been issued there as well. Be happy to take any questions or comments.
Yeah, you had a busy quarter and one particularly very busy day there too, all within 2 hours, the one accident after the other. Any questions for Dan? I'm glad to hear the firefighter that was in the hospital has fully recovered. That's good news. If there's no questions for Dan, we have a recommendation that council receive the Adelaide Metcalfe Fire Department second quarter 2026 update for information. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Kingma, seconded by Councillor Brody. All in favor? And that is carried. Thank you. Okay, any other business? Councillor Kingma, go ahead.
Coulter's been a little bit quiet. Can I ask you a question? Have you had any more discussions recently about the future of the school road landfill?
Thank you, Councillor Kingma. We're actually really close to bringing a report to this exact meeting. I would say we're about 95% done that report, so we decided to wait until the August meeting. We were waiting on a few answers from the ministry, but we have since pretty much landed everything. So I would say the August meeting, you'll see a pretty well outlined report for council to consider next steps.
Good, thank you. Anything else? There is this Saturday, the Optimist, the Adelaide Metcalfe Kerwood Optimist Club is hosting the sports day at our lovely Kerwood Park. I believe the festivities start at 2, the games and whatnot. They have a chicken barbecue. I think if you can get to Dwayne Harris before midnight tonight, you can maybe get another ticket. If not, they've got a hard stop on numbers because they have to order everything. And then little early, but the Fireman Fish Fry is August 29th. So I think there might be a couple of tickets still available for that. That's always a very popular event. And yeah, people are taking weed off, and everybody be careful. I hope we don't have any combine fires. So if there's nothing else, We have a recommendation that bylaw 20 of 2026, the zoning bylaw amendment for 2988 Mullaferry Drive, and bylaw 21 of 2026 confirming July 20th, 2026 receive first, second, and third and final readings. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Counselor Campbell, seconded by Counselor Brody. All in favor? And that is carried. And I need a motion someone to motion that we adjourn at 9:11 PM. Moved by Counselor Brody, seconded by Counselor Campbell. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you.